So we're actually going to run Tower of Heroes now. And this is a tutorial which covers the fundamentals. And what we're going to build is this little app here. It's very straightforward. And we're just going to follow this tutorial in this video. It should take about 20 minutes or so to complete. So I can stop it. And what we're going to do now is I want to remove my folder here, which was called my app. Guess not. Sorry, Linux commands there. And what I want us to do here is the first thing is we're going to scaffold the project. So let's go ahead and delete the test folder that we just showed. And we're going to go ahead and scaffold out the new directory, the new project here called Angular Tour of Heroes. Okay, so we're good to go here. So now what I can do is I can open up that folder which was scaffolded out here and do an ng serve, just like we did before, and take a look at what was created. Here it is again. So we're good to go. Now what I want to do is go ahead and close this thing down, and we can look at what files I have here in Visual Studio Code. And when we look inside of the source app, we can see a couple of different pieces of this component. Oh, I don't have that going at the moment, A Fallen Hope, but let me add that here to my Jira notes. And we want to add an uptime to Ali Chat. Okay, so in here, we can see a couple of different components, which we have this component TypeScript piece, where we have the title here, which we're going to change to be Tour of Heroes. And then in our component HTML, so this is our TypeScript, which will compile down into JavaScript. So this is where we're going to put anything that executes on the client side. So on the view, if you will, the HTML, this is what we start with, and we can delete the template, and we're just going to add in here a title. I think these are called directives. I have to look at what this is called. Oh, no. This is called Angular's interpolation binding syntax. So we're going to be binding the HTML component here into our TypeScript. So the next thing is that for consistency, it gives me just a little bit of styles. So inside of the styles CSS for this bit, here, this is the application-wide styles. We're going to add in just what the tutorial has given us. When we're done, we're going to look at our components TS, which looks right. We're going to look at our component HTML, which looks right. And we're going to look at our style sheet, which looks right. And then we can take a look at what we've created over here and do an ng serve. Okay, so here's what we've created, which is pretty much nothing at the moment. Looks like I have a small typo in my HTML here. And we have just the title, which we're passing in from the TS here inside of our app component. So now what we're going to do is we can just do this right in Visual Studio Code. Is we can just do a we're going to generate a new component called heroes. Okay, and what this did is this created a new component CSS, which is the styling for just this component. A component is a small piece of reusable code, so to say, and we can integrate it into different apps if we wanted to. So Angular is built around components, and in that we have the HTML element of the component, the TypeScript element of the component, and then also the CSS. So in our case here, in our hero component class, in this one, I want to have that looks fine. We want to add in a hero property. So I can do that just right here. And we're going to call this one, as in the demo, Windstorm. Okay. And so now over on the HTML, we can show this by using the data binding to the new property, which we just called hero. Now, in order to show this component, we need to, on our main HTML, we need to reference the component, which we're calling app heroes, because that was the name of the component, heroes. And now we're going to go ahead and create a new file inside of the heroes folder, just called hero. Well, yeah, we could just do that, or just a second. So we're going to add a new component in here called hero.ts. And in this, it's just going to be a class called hero with a, how do I zoom in VS Code? Isn't it? That, yeah. And in it, we're going to have a ID, which is going to be a number, and this is TypeScript. And then also a name, which is a string. Okay. So now inside of my hero component class, I'm going to reference this by saying that this hero is actually a hero, which is a new ID of 1, and the name, which is Windstorm. Now, why is this not displaying? Because we do not have our import statement, so we need to have the import hero from, and it's our back one directory called hero. Come on, why can't you find it? There we go. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to show our hero object. And we're going to do that by, when we're back here on the hero component, which we're now displaying here, we actually want to display a couple of different pieces. So instead of just displaying just this name, we want to do a little bit with a directive, or whatever this is called, hero.name, and then details. And then we're going to go ahead and have a div with a span. And then we're going to say the ID, which I've assigned here, which is going to be a hero.id. And then also the name, which is a hero.name. So we can see the individual components. Now we should already be doing the ng serve open in this case. Because this is happening on the fly. So what I mean by that is we can see that I have a couple of typos in here, and here. As soon as I save it, it should update, right? And it does. So in here, under hero name, we're going to go ahead and add a binding, or we're going to modify the binding and add a pipe to uppercase, which should uppercase our character. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a text box so that we can modify the name on the client side. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a two-way binding. So back here, instead of this little bit, what I want to do is I want to say my div has a label, which is a name, which we're going to have as an input, which goes to the ng model called hero.name, because that's what we're going to bind it to. And we're going to have it as a placeholder name. So what ng model does is it binds hero.name to the HTML text box so that the data can flow in both directions. Although again, we're not modifying the source, so it's only going to be within the instance of the app or of the page. So now, when we look back here, I can go ahead and get rid of this. And this is wrong, incorrect. I need that to be like that. And then we can get rid of here. So now, when I look at what's going on here, I can see that I have a problem in my console, which is that it can't bind. So in order to correct that, we need to use the forms module. So in order to do that, what is going on? Just a second, please. Real life. Okay? And so now what we need to do is we need to import this forms module. So to do that, I want to look at my app.module TypeScript, and I want to import in here the forms module, which is from the Angular forms area. And as soon as we do that, I need to also make sure that I include that in my imports here as a forms module. And now we can see it's back in action. And this is a two-way binding, so it's modifying the HTML on the page, right? Yep. So the next thing that we want to do is I want to look at my app module TypeScript file, and I want to look at my heroes component at the top here, and I want to make sure that it's also in my declarations, and it is. So we're good to go. So every component must be declared in exactly one ng module, this bit, which is our heroes component here. So this was auto-generated for us. So the next bit, thank you. So the next bit is that we're going to display a list. So in order to do that, what I want to do is I'm going to make a mock heroes class. So inside of my source app folder, I'll make a new file here called mockheroes.ts. And in this, we want to bring in the constant heroes, which is just going to be our data of hero, which is this information here. And each one of these is just an object, so we have ID 11, and the name is whatever I want. So luckily I have this data already populated, and we can just bring this in. We also want to make sure that I import the class. So in order to do this, what I want to do is I'm going to open my heroes components class. And I want to import my mock heroes here in just a moment. And I'm going to do that by saying that this hero is equal to heroes. G-R-O-E-S. And we need to do import H-E-R-E-O-S from the mock heroes. So it says it can't find mock heroes here. Interesting. So why isn't this working? You have your constant here called heroes. Because it needs to be an assignment. Okay? So the next bit is that we're going to list this information that we created using the directive ng4. So to do that, we're going to look at my heroes component HTML class or file, and here I'm going to say a new h2 called my heroes, and I want to have in the unordered list called heroes, and that's going to have a list item which is a span, and we're saying has a class called badge BGE. And we're going to bind that to the hero.id called the hero.name. Now this list item, when I look at the app, we can see that there. we can see that it's not displaying any information. So to do that, we need to show this ng4 called let hero of heroes. And now when we look at this, not quite. There it is, and now it's populating. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to apply some styling on this. So to do that, I'm going to look at my heroes component.typescript, and underneath my @component, I can see my CSS file. And we want to add in this CSS for our component. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to create a master detail relationship. So to do that, what I want to do is the first thing is that we need to have a click binding on the list element. So I can do that from the HTML, and when I look at the list item here, I'm going to add in here a click event, which is called click equals the onSelect of hero. You can see the new CSS that's been applied, but nothing is set up on our click event yet. So to do that, I want to look at the TypeScript on this element, and I'm going to say that we're going to have a new variable called selected hero, which is a type of hero. And then we also want to have a new function called onSelect, which is going to pass in a hero, which is a type of hero, which returns void. And we're going to say this selected hero equals our hero. And so now to do something with this, we want to look at the heroes component HTML class again. And I'm going to change this to be called selected hero. And we're actually going to turn this back into a template. So to do that, we're going to do this as an H2, or as a heading 2, and we're going to add in the selected hero.name, which we're going to say is uppercase. Just a second, please. All right, sorry about that. So let's see, let's go here. And I actually need to take a short break, so please stay with me through this, and I'll see you guys in just a little bit.